If you were asked to conjure up your perfect romantic partner, how much money would they make? How tall would they be? What kind of clothes would they wear? What sort of work would they do? These were the sorts of questions director and writer Celine Song asked clients when she worked as a matchmaker in her early 20s. It's also the sorts of questions her protagonist, Lucy, asks in her new movie called Materialists. You may know filmmaker Celine Song from her 2023 debut feature, Past Lives. It was nominated for multiple Academy Awards. It told the story of one woman and two men that she loved. One she'd met as a child in South Korea and stayed connected with after she moved away, and one she met as an adult at an artist residency and married. That movie was a soft, slow love story. I remember the aching feeling I had through long stretches of it. Materialists is fast and quippy and chock full of hot movie stars. The matchmaker Lucy is played by Dakota Johnson. She caters to clients, and she's also caught between two potential partners. The perfect on paper finance bachelor Harry, played by Pedro Pascal, and then there's her imperfect ex-boyfriend, John, played by Chris Evans, who's a struggling actor making money doing catering and living with roommates. Being a struggling artist is something that Celine Song herself has experience with. Before she was a movie director, she wrote plays. That's when she did matchmaking as a side hustle. And in this conversation, Celine and I talk about what she learned from those early days flitting between high-end clients and her friends who were struggling writers and actors, and what is gleaned and what is missed when you are honest and upfront about the currencies at play in the dating market.
I always say this, which is that, fine if you want somebody who's 6 feet tall. We're all going to be 5'7" at the end. We're all going to shrink.
This is Death, Sex, and Money. The show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. I'm Anna Sale. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. I'm excited to tell you that Death, Sex, and Money is back at Tribeca Audio in New York City. We're doing a live show on June 11th at 8:30 p.m., and I want to personally invite you to come join us and be a part of the live recording. I will be interviewing award-winning actor Allison Williams from Get Out, Girls, that weird doll horror movie Megan. We're going to talk about her life, her career. It's going to be fun. Whether you are in the city on the East Coast or have just been looking for an excuse to visit New York City in June, we hope to see you there. The show is Wednesday, June 11th at 8:30 p.m. Get your tickets now at tribecafilm.com/DSM. See you then. Thanks for doing this with us. I was able to see the film last night, so I have context. So fresh. I want to talk to you about so many little details in the script, but I will keep it spoiler-free for our listeners. I want to just get as, into it as you do in the script.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to be as kind of crass and brash.
My characters don't swear that much or anything.
It's not swearing, but I mean the crassness around money. I think that's
I think about that all the time because I'm like, well, it's so interesting, who we all grew up feeling like, well, talking about money or talking about value directly is so rude, or it's just not polite society. It's not polite conversation. So yeah, let's talk about it. I love that you're calling it crass,
In Materialists, Lucy, played by Dakota Johnson, has to talk quite frankly to her clients.
Hey, are you single? I'm a matchmaker. Give me a call if you want to meet somebody.
I deserve someone who fulfills all of my criteria.
Nothing over 20 PMI.
I don't want someone who likes cats.
How many marriages are you responsible for now, Lucy?
9. If the girl asks for a call, drink of water, with a salary over 500 grand, you deliver.
And I said crass, but maybe a better description is uncommonly direct. Like, even when we're talking with friends, we don't fantasize with such specificity about ideal hairlines or earning power. I mean, it's in there, the assumptions about the same education level or the math of what kind of life you might afford together. And also that wild card about what it would take for you to be attracted to them physically. Celine makes all this explicit in her screenplay and what the clients say to Lucy, and also how Lucy measures up. I was very struck by your creative choice for Lucy, the character, the main character in your movie, to tell the audience how much money she makes.
Oh, yeah.
Her salary is $80,000 a year in New York City. And we learned that she grew up uncomfortable financially in a poor family. So how did you pick $80,000 before taxes? What did you think that salary in New York City in this moment represented?
So to me, 80 grand in New York City is the amount of money that an ambitious woman knows is not enough to live in the lifestyle that she wants, right? Somebody like Lucy, who is somebody who has, I guess one would say, like bougie taste, or like wants to
nice clothes,
right? Yeah. Like nice clothes, has materialistic desires, and is somebody who wants to basically, and this is very connected to her character, who wants to hide her working class background. So she is trying to live beyond her means. So to me, 80 grand is this woman who is very ambitious when it comes to that, wanting to, feels okay, but wishes to make more, but is kind of on the edge of what she thinks she can pull those things off with.
So that's a number that we learn in the movie. We also learn a client asks for what her minimum is for what the man should earn that she wants to date. And I think the lowest number we hear is $150,000. Like it's all, at least double what you're saying an ambitious woman in New York City would consider passable.
Of course. I think that it is still a very active part of the conversation that is happening between people. I think in the way that like in the powder rooms, or like in the way that it is kind of like behind closed doors, the polite conversation, right? Kind of away from polite conversation, that is still very actively and honestly, like embarrassingly for feminism, still such a powerful thing, that you want your man to make more money than you, right? You want your partner to be richer than you, make more money, and take care of you. My thing is like, well, that's a very interesting desire that I still think that it is prevalent in everybody's, like, because the way we grew up. I think it's in our bones a little bit.
When Celine was a matchmaker in her early 20s, she heard a lot of these sorts of quiet, embarrassing desires said out loud. But despite the intimacy of the work, it was not a job that she trained for or even really wanted.
You know, in New York City, everybody is looking for a day job because it's a city of dreams, and everybody is in pursuit of something that they're trying to achieve. So everybody has a day job. And as a result, to get a job as a barista, you needed like 10 years of experience as a barista.
You needed skills.
You needed skills.
Yes.
And to work in retail, they needed 15 years of experience in retail. So I just wasn't qualified for any of these jobs. So the job that I actually was qualified for and I interviewed and I got was as a professional matchmaker. And I only did it for 6 months, but I think that those 6 months were probably the 6 months that I learned most about people and what desire is, and also how we talk about love. What I learned is that every client would walk in describing the person they want to be with in terms of height, weight, job, salary, what kind of lifestyle, what kind of place they own, how they own, if they own,
As
rent.
if they're a consumer.
Yes,
Yes,
as if
this
they're
is
an
what
object.
I want to.
Exactly.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, they're a consumer of a product. And I think that this is something that is we also see increasingly. I mean, we all have the marketplace on our phones, right? And we also are able to assess each other and assess and in turn objectify and commodify and objectify oneself too. And which is why I think that there is a really there's a surge of self-improvement, right? Going to the gym to get a body you want, plastic surgery. There's so many ways that this language of self-improvement is actually so connected to the way that we see ourselves as a product and not a person.
You're making me think about online dating as almost like akin to Zillow for buying real estate.
Yes.
Like Zillow is such, we want to look, we have aspirations, we like dig into the history and what we can find out. But you can't tell if the plumbing is solid, if the wiring will cause a fire, if the foundation is broken. You get only what the staged version of this house is. And usually you
learn the truth.
In the movie, Lucy herself is offered two versions of a suitor. One, the perfect on paper Harry.
You are what we call a unicorn.
He's the rich and suave businessman, played by Pedro Pascal.
How much is this apartment?
12 million.
And the other man is John, an old lover.
Not gonna marry him, are you?
Why not?
Because he's good looking and rich.
He is handsome but broke, a struggling actor played by Chris Evans.
When I see your face, I see wrinkles and children that look like you.
Love, art, and money were all swirling around when Celine was figuring out how to make what she wanted. In her early 20s as a playwright, she was moving between elite spaces and struggling spaces.
So it was kind of a funny two-world situation for me to be spend all day talking about value, what is a bare minimum salary everybody needs to be making to go on a date with them, what kind of job they want, height, everything. And then I would go home or go to my night job, and then I would be spending time with and love and be connected to all these people who were in the dating marketplace considered worthless.
Yes.
Because and of no value, right? Yeah.
When you would move between your day job and your night job, did you find yourself, feeling judgment for the clients you worked with during the day and feeling like your real people were the theater people where it's really what life is about and they, weren't wrapped up in sort of the performance of status through their relationships. They were digging in through art. Did you sort of feel like you were a tourist in the world of matchmaking, or did you relate to the people?
Well, I think of course, I think that on some level I felt like I was a tourist in matchmaking because, of course, there are people who are full-time, lifelong, committed matchmakers whose entire work is that.
And you
right?
were a short timer.
And I was a short timer, and it was a day job. It was very openly a day job. But I really do think that while I was in this job, it led me to be less judgmental. I think that I hold on to that lack of judgment even now as a result of that job. So the truth is that I learned to be less judgmental about parts of the world that are more sensitive to value than the theater actors in New York City. But I really do think that just because you're pursuing your dream instead of wealth, it doesn't mean that you are suddenly able to not be a materialist, right? There's a very important scene for the character of John where he is arguing with Lucy about $25. And that's actually the thing that really crushes him too throughout. And that was something that, of course, Chris and I were talking about when we were talking about the character of John. It's like he can't catch a break. And that's what it is. You can't catch a break if you don't have a lot of money. Right? Which feels like you're like, well, I'm not in pursuit of wealth, I'm in pursuit of my dream, but it doesn't mean that you're going to not be crushed daily by your lack of it, your lack of wealth.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe he's in pursuit of wealth, but has learned to tolerate longer odds because he wants to get the wealth through arts as opposed to finance.
Exactly.
Where the odds are a little bit
exactly.
easier.
It's a bit of a bad bet, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that anybody is free from it. And I think that Lucy also knows that, which is why I think that it doesn't make a lot of sense for her to be judgmental or not about anybody.
Coming up, the allure and assured disappointment of thinking you've landed the fantasy partner, even if they do have all the right moves at first. The moment when Pedro Pascal picks up Lucy and walks her out of frame, my breath caught. I was like, sexy.
You lifted her, you know?
One thing that stayed with me after watching Celine Song's new movie was how edgy it felt to hear people say out loud with specificity what they found attractive and what turned them off. We talk about looks all the time in some ways in our culture. It's screaming at us from every image we see in movies, ads, or just everything. But we also don't talk about looks and attractiveness seriously. What we do to be attractive or to hold on to feeling attractive, it's a private endeavor. But philosopher Heather Widdows, she talks about it all the time in public.
The 4 features that I track are thinness, firmness, smoothness, and youth.
She and I talk about looks and the narrowing ideals of beauty in our Slate Plus feed this week. She argues that the pursuit of looking good is overtaking more and more of our brain space. And as a professor, she poses questions to get her students to talk about the trade-offs of that.
So I ask things like, how many years do you think you'd give up if you knew that you could get up looking perfect every day? And I go, would you give up 2 years? Put your hands up. 5 years, 10 years. And it's extraordinary how when they're really, answering for themselves, there's an awful lot of hands still going up. I would give up 10 years of life if I knew I could get up looking perfect every day.
I also really liked how Dr. Widdows is not about shaming or encouraging us to do certain things at the individual level. Her goal is to get us all talking about how much beauty and the pursuit of beauty matters collectively.
We do not want to believe that teachers pay more attention to their good-looking pupils than their intelligent pupils. And we don't want to believe that courts make judgments on how people look. But the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. In fact, maybe our younger generations are doing better at this because pretty privilege is all over TikTok. Right? They know there's a pretty privilege. And they get told, oh, no, if you just, do your schoolwork, it really won't matter. But they know it does. And that's why we have to start by telling the truth about this far more than we do.
If you are a Slate Plus member, you can hear that conversation in your feed right now. If you are not yet a Slate Plus member, you can sign up right now on the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or just go to slate.com/DSM Plus to unlock all the benefits of Slate Plus membership, these kinds of extra conversations, plus ad-free listening to all the podcasts that Slate makes. And we also want to hear from all of you with your own stories about the interventions you're doing to look more attractive and how you feel about it. How much time and money do you spend on improving your appearance, either with skincare or injectables, hair dye, teeth whitening or straightening, plastic surgery? And how do you talk about all that? What feels okay for you to do and what doesn't? And are you open with your routines or treatments or secretive? Record a voice memo and send it to us at deathsexmoney@slate.com. Here's a warning. Father's Day is coming up, and if you are looking to elevate your gift game this year, go to quince.com. They have some thoughtful, simple, and effortless pieces for all the dads in your life. You can go to the Men tab, and there is a Father's Day section. I found myself looking at the sweaters and thinking about how my husband might need a little extra layer for sitting outside as we talk about our family late into the evening and just what dadding is all about. And the best part about shopping at Quince is everything is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. They work together with top artisans and cut out the middleman, and Quince gives you luxury pieces without crazy markups. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. For the dad who deserves better than basic, Quince has you covered. Go to quince.com/DSM for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/DSM to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DSM.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, just hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill, too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
This episode is brought to you by Understood.org. Listening to personal and honest stories from others can help lead us to our own aha moments. And that's why you might want to check out the podcast ADHD Aha, hosted by Laura Key. On ADHD Aha, you can hear candid stories from people who share the moment it clicked that they or someone they know has ADHD. When you go to the podcast feed, you can see all kinds of different life stories in the episode titles. ADHD and grief, ADHD and parenting, ADHD and comedy writing, and more and more and more. There are more than 100 episodes. I listened to Margot Joffe's story about sensory overload and self-advocacy. Her story starts with a trip to IKEA with her mom. And when they had a cart that was almost all the way full and they were almost done shopping, she just shut down. Too much sensory overload, decision fatigue, could not deal. And she got really emotional, and Margot could not understand what was happening. And it led to a conversation with her mom about ADHD symptoms. Her mom read an article, suggested that she get a professional evaluation in her late 20s, and it led her to understand herself in a new way and reset her relationship with her parents. To listen to personal stories like this, just go to your podcast app and search ADHD Aha. That's ADHD Aha, with Aha spelled AHA. This is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate. I'm Anna Sale. Lucy, Dakota Johnson's character in Materialists, is fluent about wealth with her matchmaking clients, but we learn this is not her world. She grew up without money and kind of finds rich people amusing, something to study. Writer and director Celine Song grew up the child of artists, a filmmaker and graphic designer. She moved to New York City in 2014 to get her MFA in playwriting. She was born in South Korea, and then her family moved to Canada when she was 12. While making art felt like the family business, she was also taught early on that it wasn't without risk.
Well, you're always kind of walking into it thinking it's a bit of a gamble, because that's the amazing thing about being an artist. I remember at one point talking to my accountant, and, there was a real question. It was the first time we worked with an accountant because I had my first TV job. I was a staff writer for Wheel of Time. It's the first time I made any money that made any sense to get an accountant. So we get an accountant, right?
You can move off of TurboTax.
We got off we may not get a return this year, right? So I was talking to the accountant, and then the accountant, I think that we're talking, and it's something that, of course, my accountant is asking. It's like, well, how much do we expect to make next year? And I was like, could be $0 or it could be $1 million. Like, I don't know, right? It's it's an amazing amount of uncertainty. And every day you hope that it's on the higher end of that spectrum. But you don't know. You're kind of walking into every year or every day, just like maybe you'll hit the lotto. But I think that I was very comfortable with it because of the way that my parents are working artists.
Your parents being familiar with the ups and downs financially of being an artist, like when you had a really lean year, you didn't feel like there was judgment about your value related to their love or their pride in you. Like that was separate.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the family you grew up in.
I think that's definitely true. And I think that it's also real that it's like, well, only thing that matters is anything that I think that wouldn't make them proud is if I wrote something that was bad. Right? Oh. Or where I wrote something that was not art, right?
Not art. Oh, Celine, that's so...
it's so horrible, right? But it's possible. Like, it's totally possible that it's like, imagine if I really wanted to make a buck and I wasn't making art so that I can make a buck. Like, I think that would be... By the way, the part of what I'm able to do is that I never have to... my only goal then becomes... because there's no other way that I'm going to try to impress my artist parents. The only thing I'm going to do is to make something great, right? So it's like something that I know I feel very lucky about is that, like, my friends are, when their parents and they're not in the arts, and then they talk to them, they'll just ask questions like, it's like, so when are you going to be on Broadway? And I do think of this as a huge privilege. I usually call it my trust fund, because it's a trust fund. It's not real. It's not wealth, but it's wealth in a way of having parents who would never ask me questions like that. You know what I mean? Who just understands what being on Broadway is, because they understand that what I make, I can tell them about, like, be the semifinalist for the O'Neill Theater Conference. And then they will understand the exact context of it, and they will understand the competitiveness of it, and they will assess it exactly right. Like, it's never going to be like, oh, just, what is that? That's nothing. Or, wow, it's amazing. It's neither. It's always going to be accurate.
Celine's first feature film, Past Lives, earned enough accolades to make any parent proud, artist or not. The movie was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay. Celine has said the story of Past Lives is semi-autobiographical. Celine met her husband, Justin Kuritzkis, a screenwriter best known for writing the movie Challengers, at an artist residency. In Past Lives, the protagonist is a playwright living in New York City from South Korea. She reconnects with a childhood sweetheart from South Korea who comes to visit, and Nora, the protagonist, is happily married at the time. While there is a pull of will they or won't they, Celine's writing doesn't let us settle into quick judgments. Like Arthur, Nora's husband, voices his jealousy, but in a way that feels tender and always kind.
What?
I was just thinking about what a good story this is.
The story of Haesung and me?
Yeah. I just can't compete.
What do you mean?
Childhood sweethearts who reconnect 20 years later only to realize they were meant for each other.
We're not meant for each other.
I know. In the story, I would be the evil white American husband standing in the way of destiny.
Shut up.
Think about it. Our story is just so boring. We met at an artist residency. We slept together because we both happened to be single. We realized we both live in New York, so we move in together to save money on rent. We got married so you could get a green card.
Oh, you make it sound so romantic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm the guy you leave in the story when your ex-lover comes to take you away.
He's not my ex-lover.
When you were first falling in love with your husband, and you're both artists, and you're both at this critical early career stage where you're thinking about the focus you have to dedicate to your work, what you get from being in community with other artists, the competition you feel among other artists. Like, what was that like when you discovered each other? Was it a tumultuous kind of falling in love for you, or was it easy? How do you remember it?
I think and this is a thing that's also hard. It's unfortunately very easy. And I say unfortunately because I think that, and it's expressed in the film a couple times, right? Lucy goes, "Love is easy," right? No, dating requires a lot of effort, but love is easy. And to me, that's what would be my experience of it. It was, it's immediate and easy. So yeah, there's no like, it wasn't very effortful in that way. I think it was just like, effortless and simple and just happened, Yeah.
And you weren't alarmed by it?
No, why would I be alarmed by it?
I don't know. I think sometimes
would you feel alarmed by it? Yeah.
I think when forceful love comes, especially maybe because you were in your
I was 24.
Early to mid 20s, 24, young. At this stage of life where you're kind of just figuring out what your kind of desires might be and where you want to go, and maybe I think alarmed maybe because there is something with falling in love where you are hitching your wagon to someone else, and your ability to be totally free to make your own choices is more limited. One could view it that way, but it's interesting you didn't.
Well, I think you try it and see if the wagon runs. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like hitching you to a wagon, but you're like, well, let's see, you can get off. But I mean, I think about this so much in terms of like the way that we talk about love generally. I think that it's something that happened when I was releasing Past Lives, where I was sharing past lives, and then somebody said to me, it's like, it just feels like my main character in Past Lives, she seems to have like too much love in her life, right? It feels like she has too much. And I was like, well, it's really interesting because people feel very entitled to all kinds of things. People feel entitled to many different feelings and many different objects. And also, like, we all feel entitled to someone who's 6 feet tall, who makes this much money, who has this kind of a job, who likes me this way. Like, there's so many things that we feel entitled to things. But the one thing that I think we hesitate to feel entitled to is love from the person who loves you.
Yeah. There's this line in a wedding speech that a character says, when you are lost, go towards love. Yeah. And I almost like my breath caught. And I was like, oh, because I love the simplicity of that. It's not saying romantic love. It's not saying turn toward your spouse. It's like go towards the place where you have love when you are lost, and cocoon there. And that will be part of the path back.
That's the only answer. That's the only answer that's going to make sense. That's the only deal you can take. Because, of course, there are many deals that is offered to Lucy when it comes to love and romance and relationship throughout the film. But the only deal that one can take is what that is. You just have to go where love is.
And I think what's so interesting when you describe this is definitely a love story. It's a lust story, too. Mm-hmm. There's some desire. Ooh. And I wonder how you thought, like, when you think about lust and then this list of things that people are saying that they are drawn to in a kind of like, not love way, not a heart love way, but in a kind of like greedy, yummy, how did you think about physical attraction and lust and how you want to portray that as part of the mix of what powers love? In particular, I'm thinking because you're casting two very handsome men. So I think it's there.
I think that there is whole level of conversation about lust and desire. And I think that's actually very disconnected to romance and actual feelings of wanting to sleep with that person. Because it's not necessarily true that the person that you have the most chemistry with, the person that you want to sleep with the most, is the person with the best body. And what a beautiful thing that you have these three entirely lovable actors. Because I think that beyond how beautiful they are, something that I'm looking for when I'm casting them in this film is lovability. Someone that we can see and say like, oh, so adorable. Or like, oh, cute, It's like, oh, funny, because all three of them are just so funny. And I think that what is it? It's like and also, by the way, it's very different than likability. Likability, of course, is about something that has broad appeal that everybody can be okay with.
No edges.
No edges. Lovability is something where, when we love something, we never go like, well, I love that person because everybody else loves them, right? You go, no, I love that person because only I get it, right? I'm the only person who gets what's so lovable and adorable and cute about that person. That's why I love them, right? So that to me is the lovability of it. And I think that is actually, something that is of more focus to me than even like, good looks, Because the good looks, of course, they're actors. They're beautiful actors. So the good looks is one thing. But to me, what I'm interested in is like, yeah, but Dakota's so funny, Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, Chris can, look at the way he's going to, go like, fuck,
in front of the bathroom mirror when he's brushing his teeth. I thought, that was such a good moment. I fell in love with him in that moment. He was so real.
But you're going to fall in love with him there, right? You're not going to fall in love with him because he's cool looking and walking around looking cool. No, you're going to fall in love with him because it's so... it's pathos, right? He's like, you're like, oh, he's so pathetic. He just wants to look good for his girl. Touching his hair. And you're like, oh, it's so adorable. It's so funny. And it's like so honest and very earnest too. So I think that's what makes this actor so incredible. And it's why I wanted them with this movie,
Coming up, how more success and more money has changed the ways Celine thinks about friendship.
I think that the person who makes more money in a friendship or in a relationship should be the person who knows how to handle that social situation.
This episode is brought to you by Discover. If you've listened to Death, Sex, and Money for a while, you know how important acceptance is when it comes to personal growth. And you know who else is big on acceptance? Discover. You see, Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. That's a whole lot of places and a whole lot of acceptance, which is great for Discover, but even better for you. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Today's episode is sponsored by NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast. Making financial decisions shouldn't feel like trying to pick a place to eat with friends. Too many choices and everyone has an opinion on what's worth it. One person says invest in crypto. Another says go all in on real estate. Meanwhile, you're just trying to figure out if your credit card's annual fee will ever pay off. That's where the nerds come in. NerdWallet's finance journalists do the research so you don't have to, breaking down the fine print, cutting through misinformation, and giving you real fact-based insights so you can make smart financial moves without the group chat chaos. NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast can help you get smarter about using home equity without over-leveraging yourself, and when refinancing actually saves you money and when it doesn't. Want to know if dividend stocks or growth stocks make more sense for you? Listen to the nerds. They also help decipher the real difference between ETFs and mutual funds without the jargon. Make your next financial move with confidence. Follow NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast on your favorite podcast app and stay tuned until the end of the episode to hear the Smart Money trailer. Can I ask you about money and friendships?
Of course.
Because I was struck by the portrayal of different social scenes. Mm-hmm. There's a very posh, fancy wedding where everyone is, glad handing, but there's not a ton of warmth. And then there's a scene after a play where all the theater people are standing outside and smoking, and there's a real scene of like, these are our people. We're hanging out, and it's warm, and we know each other. And I wonder what's been your experience having had moments where you're winning the lottery in the arts and you have friends who are in a different situation. What have you noticed about the ways in which money gets in the way of the intimacy and love and friendships?
I've always found it to be so gracious when my friends who had more money than me would be lovely about it and gracious and lovely about it. As in, like, they will just be like, no, I'll get it and make more money than you. But then I always think about like whether they want to pretend like they don't, like, so that to me is also something that I feel a lot, especially like with like, I don't know, like my crew or something, like I don't want my crew to, you know what I mean? I don't want to be weird because when I'm in a position of a boss, I don't want to be intransparent about how much more money I make. Because I do, of course. I make more money than the, somebody who is in my department head, of course. So I'm not going to be in that situation, act like, well, who knows how much money we all make? Like, it's obvious, I'm their boss, I'm their director. So it's actually the responsibility of the person who has more money to be open about it and also to be cool about it.
By cool, do you mean nonchalant, no big deal? Kind of? Is that what you mean by cool?
Not making it a thing. So I really loved it when my friends who make more, and I learned from this too, once I did make more money, which is that like my friends who are able to like just pay for it and then like not even say much about it and then like change the topic. Like not making it, not being fussy and not making it an act of generosity. Because already the person who has less money already knows that this is an act of generosity, right? So there's this word in Korean, 생색. And 생색 is something where it's like when you do something nice and then you just make sure that everybody knows about it, right? That's 생색. So it's like you just don't want to make 생색. Right?
That's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing.
That's like,
it's not a bad thing. I think you can 생색 in a cute way. We can be like, well, I took care of that problem for you. Like it's kind of, it can be cute. It can be sweet and cute and like kind of like a wonderful thing. And then of course people might in that situation be like, oh my God, thank you so much for taking care of that. I can't believe you did that.
You said sing? Is that how you pronounce it?
생색.
Seng. I think when I employ seng, it's mostly in my marriage with things like, did you notice I unloaded the dishwasher?
Yes.
Sweetheart.
No, it's a kind of like, it's such a useful word because it's such a big part of, I think, like roommates, like, like living together, marriage, like family, like it's such a deep thing that we do. And I think it's like, but then whether you're able to keep it cute or make it into something dramatic, I think that's always the balance. And then maybe it's like sometimes like the timing is bad. So you have to be careful. Sometimes you're like,
okay,
this is not the time to be 생색. And sometimes like, like I saw somebody, of course, like it's a Korean word, so it's not a part of everything. But like once I went to a funeral and somebody was 생색. And I'm like, like this is not the time to sing.
Yes,
right. It's like, yeah.
I'm from West Virginia, and when my husband and I do sangsek, we say, "I want credit." Like that's what we say to each other.
I want credit. Yeah. And sometimes you just want compliments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Notice this, please.
There was a really great. I feel like what it was. There was a really great comedy skit where it was like a song about like. I want compliments. I want compliments. And I'm like, I think that is so, I think, yeah, I want credit. Yeah. Like that's what this is. This is, I want credit, right? I want it to be known here that this has happened. And I think it's like, like in the zombie apocalypse, like that's just not the time for sangsang, right? Like it's only cute in peacetime.
That's writer and director Celine Song. Her movie Materialists, starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal, is out on June 13th. This episode was produced by Zoe Azulay. The rest of our team includes Andrew Dunn and Cameron Drews. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer at Slate. Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. Death, Sex, and Money is produced by Slate. Please support the production of our show by becoming a member of Slate Plus. You'll not only be supporting our team, you'll also get access to bonus conversations like my interview with beauty philosopher Heather Widdows that is in your feed right now. You'll also get access to all of the shows that Slate makes, like Slow Burn and Dakota Ring, without any ads or sponsor breaks. You can subscribe directly to Slate Plus from the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or visit slate.com/DSM Plus to get access wherever you listen. Our theme music is by the Reverend John Delore and Steve Lewis. And don't forget, send us a voice memo to tell us what kind of interventions you are doing to enhance your attractiveness and how you feel about having to do those interventions. Record it and email it to us at deathsexmoney@slate.com. You can also send us any questions, comments, critiques, or show ideas. We love hearing from you. Again, the email is deathsexmoney@slate.com. I'm Anna Sale, and this is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate.
Today's episode is sponsored by NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast.
Money can be confusing. Should you invest in ETFs, get a travel rewards credit card, buy a house, or just build a really fancy pillow fort?
That could work. No shame in pillow fort game. Or you could just tune in for clear, research-backed financial insights.
I'm Sean Piles, a certified financial planner professional.
And I'm Elizabeth Ayola. We're the hosts of NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast, where you bring the money questions and we bring trustworthy information backed by NerdWallet's expert analysis, without the jargon or the sales pitch.
Our nerds do the research so you don't have to. We'll help you understand your options so you can make the best decision for your situation, from optimizing your investments and maximizing credit card rewards to making big money moves with confidence.
Plus, we keep it real. No lectures, no judgment. Just tips and tools you can use to build wealth and take control of your finances. Think of us as your financial GPS, helping you navigate your money decisions and avoid expensive wrong turns.
Whether you're planning for retirement, weighing a big purchase, or just want to make your money work harder for you, we've got insights that you can use in real life.
So, if you want practical, straightforward, and actually useful financial knowledge, plus a little bit of fun along the way, follow NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast on your favorite podcast app.
Trust us, future you will thank you.